I haven't spoken to or seen my dad in like 6 years because of Trump mostly. But it started way earlier than that. In 2009, I went to college, and one of the first things that he said to me was just don't become a liberal, because I was raised, in an evangelical home, extremely conservative, big on GUNs, like all of that. And of course, I went to school, and that was like exactly what I did.
Someone needs to tell the people that are uploading these videos on TikToks that this is not a Catholic confession booth. It is sinful to not have spoken to your parents for 6 years due to political reasons. That's absurdity. There are good reasons to not talk to your parents, mainly having to do with abuse, but this is not one of them.
And, then the 2012 election came around and I voted for Obama, and that was when we really like started to butt heads.
Hold on a moment. What is the symbol on her wrist here? Is it a lesbian symbol? There'd be two of them, right? Or is it like those best friend necklaces where you hold them up together, maybe? Am I out of touch? One thing I like about doing these videos is I get to learn a lot of new things.
Then the 2016 election happened, and one of my sisters and I got on a conference call with him and literally begged him for hours to change his mind and not vote for Trump. And, we begged him for like 8 years, probably, like starting before the 2020 or the 2012 election and then continuing through the 2016 election and like 3 years beyond that, just begging him to learn and grow. And he just refused. And my mom followed suit. One of our other sisters followed suit. And now none of our family really speaks. And sometimes I'm curious, like, if he did change. So I go look at his Facebook, and it's just, like those typical boomer memes that are like super anti-liberal and like anti-progressive. And I'm marrying a woman. I don't even know if they know that, but
there are people out there that do give the impression that that's all they think about is leftists and liberals, and being anti-leftist and liberal is their identity, when in reality, their life is much more complex than that. They go to the store, they shop. Assuming they're like an empty nester and they're a boomer and they're just walking around an empty house, they've got yard work, they've got church stuff that they're helping out with, they've got household chores that they're doing, they've got careers that they're still engaged in. But what else are they going to post besides that? Well, they should be posting pictures of their grandkids and spending time hanging out with their grandkids. But let me guess, you didn't have any children, and so they don't have grandkids to engage with. They don't have photos to share of their grandkids. And so they've got a little bit of extra time to dive down into the internet and post those memes. We're going to go back in case you missed it. She did say that she is lesbian.
And I'm marrying a woman. I don't even know if they know that. But today,
You don't even know if they know that? You're not a 14-year-old who's hiding their sexuality because you're afraid of how your parents are going to react. You're an adult woman at this point. You just need to tell them the information, and if they react or not, that's totally up to them. Now what you're doing, though, is you're judging them for not knowing something, even though it's up to you to make sure that they know that.
Today, this Supreme Court ruling about the LA racial profiling with immigration just like got to me. It all gets to me, but this got to me because it's like, this is the shit that my family supports and does and believes in.
Well, we don't want resources being wasted. The majority of illegal immigrants are not white. If you haven't already, could you give this video a like? I'm trying to get to 100 total likes for this video. That would be a great goal. Consider checking out the channel, seeing if there's any other videos that you'd be interested in, and let's continue. The vast majority of unauthorized immigrants in the U.S. are non-white, with groups of Latin America and Asia making up the largest share. Latin America, more than 2/3, 68% of unauthorized immigrants are from Mexico and Central America. Asia, 15 to 16%, that includes India. South America, 8% of the unauthorized immigrants. Africa, 3%. Europe, Canada, Oceania, 4%. Understanding math and statistics does not make you a white supremacist, and if you think that, you might be the one. Let's go on to this next one.
35-year-old kid in the coffee shop this morning was saying he's Republican.
Okay.
young, brown, living in a blue state. I proceeded to embarrass him. He said something about a debate. I said, I do not debate with idiots. No, this is a civil war. You have not received the feedback, the consequence that your words are garbage and you're a bad person at this point. Let me communicate that to you.
Jesus.
You're welcome.
Well, like, here's some books that you should read if you want to disappoint your conservative family. I meant that in like a funny way, but now I mean that in like a serious way. I guess I post this because I don't think I'm the only person that this is happening to, where like watching people that you love get more and more red pilled to the point where it is like it's scary. If it weren't so deeply personal, like I would find it so interesting from a mental health perspective, because it's like watching this group think happen the way that it is, and watching how it like disinformation.
You gotta love the irony. You gotta love it.
Just unhinges people from reality. Like, I know that I'm not the only person who has parents who they just like slowly lose year by year. Like, I'm watching my father get more and more extreme to the point that I don't know him. There's so many well-meaning comments on my last video talking about conservative parents, with like people saying like, yeah, never give up. Like, you know, I bring my dad to drag brunch now, and like those things are great. And I know people don't mean anything by them.
Why would you do that? Why would you bring him to a drag show? What would be the point of that? Or drag lunch? What's the point of that? That has nothing to do with policies. That has nothing to do with anything. You are hurting your party by making that be an issue. What in the hell does that have to do with making sure people can make their mortgage payments, with making sure that people have enough money to raise a family, with making sure that people can afford to go to school? The vast majority of Republicans, 90% of them, they simply do not care if you're gay. They don't care if you're a drag queen. They don't care if you're tranny. They care about their lives. They're not going to meetings. They're not donating money to this specific cause. They're just living their lives trying to survive. And by you thinking that you need to take them to a drag brunch, it tells them that you do not have your priorities straight.
With where my dad is, and like I have to think about the lines that I need to draw myself about whether or not, like, what's his access to me like. I have to hear a man who used to be relatively normal, definitely very right-leaning, but not like completely incoherent. And now he's looking me in the eyes and telling me like he's willing to like bear arms against his brothers in a civil war. And I'm like, I don't know how to have a conversation with that. And it's just like there's no rational conversation. Like there's nothing I can say that will convince him. And it's like, all right, well, great, then I'll make my lines in the sand of we don't talk about these things. And then what? Don't know what level of brainwashing has to happen for you to like see your child and say like enemy of the state. Like that's a real unironic thought. And it pisses me off, frankly. Like I've read books recently on disinformation, and so like being a little bit more aware of it and watching the way that generation tends to fall for these things is beyond me. Like the things that I have to argue of like what you're saying is not a fact. You're saying something as if it's a fact and it's not a fact. And keep in mind too,
you know what I love about this? If you go and read old books and magazines and articles that were written by these young 20-something-year-olds, if you were to read them from the 60s and 70s, they were all saying the same thing about the older generations. This is nothing new. But you have to be aware that you're doing that exact same thing. You are experiencing that same thing. You have to know the statistic that the older you get, the more conservative you become as a group, as a whole. And then you have to start asking yourself, why is that? And why has that been true for so long? And why is that true not just in the US, but it's been true in every single country? People in their 50s and 60s have cell phones too. They have the internet too. They can get access to this information too. They've been here consuming content and media longer than you have. And a lot of them at one point in life had the same exact views that you have today. Girl, check yourself before you wreck yourself.
I'm a literal mental health professional, but it is like a blind spot. It's like my own family, right?
Right.
So that's part of it. But there's all these like lines that I don't think any of us know how to toe, where it's like when you have somebody who's in a...
Can you imagine if this girl was your therapist? Can you even imagine it?
In a cult, like you want to maintain that positive contact and make sure that they don't get isolated. But then also, if you're dealing with someone who tends to be narcissistic, you're also trying to like really draw consequences and boundaries and lines. And so it's like which one? I'm interested about when this gets studied later on, you know, in textbooks of
studied by people like you.
Like what's happening to the, you know, white American psyche, maybe. I don't know if that's even a good way to put it, of like what watching people as this like mass level of groupthink.
Mass level of groupthink. Well, you have a mass level of group assumptions, because the last lady that was on here was talking about how she got in an argument with some black right winger, some black person who took the red pill. Is she even paying attention to what is going on in other countries, in other non-white countries? They're all going red pill. They're all swinging to the right. Now, very well could be simply that the populations are aging around the world, because this numbskull here, who claims to be a mental health professional, very much knows that the reason people are religious typically has to do with the religion that they're born into. And yet she doesn't have the wherewithal to encourage her fellow liberals to have the next generation of liberals. Idiocracy was a prediction of what society would become if smart people stopped having children. And she took it as, oh, well, I'm a smart person, therefore I should not have children. How dumb could you possibly be?
So alarming and so scary.